You've probably seen GOP politicians talking about undocumented immigrants voting in our elections. But is this really happening? And how worried should you be?
I believe now that that's why they're allowing these people to come in. People that don't speak our language, they're signing them up to vote. And I believe that's why you're having millions of people pour into our country. And it could very well affect the next election. And I believe that's why they're doing it.
In reality, undocumented immigrants do not vote in our elections. They legally cannot vote. We have many safeguards in place to stop them from voting, and even if they could, it would be too big of a personal risk for it to be worth it to them. When you register to vote, your state checks your identity and information using state and federal databases to verify that you are a US citizen and are eligible to vote. Many states even cross-reference across multiple databases for more security. In the United States, it is illegal for anyone who is not a US citizen to register or vote in any state or federal election. Non-citizens who attempt to vote face penalties including a fine, up to 1 year of jail time, and deportation. Non-citizens voting is investigated regularly and has never been found to be anywhere close to widespread enough to affect our elections in any way. This is all a deflection from the Trump campaign and the MAGA movement to get us angry about something that doesn't happen, to distract from what they're actually doing. The very people spreading this lie conducted research that concluded that non-citizen voting is not a threat. The Heritage Foundation, a right-wing think tank composed of many Trump allies and most famous for writing Project 2025, which I'm sure you've heard of, did their own research and analyzed election conduct and found only 24 cases of non-citizens voting in the past 20 years. That's 0.000002%, or an average of 2.4 per election cycle. Not even close to enough to swing a single county, let alone an entire election. The Brennan Center for Justice analyzed 23.5 million votes in the 2016 election and found only 30 instances of non-citizens attempting to vote. More than Heritage, but still only 0.0001% of the vote. Nothing more than a statistical blip. More people are struck by lightning each year than have voted illegally in the past decade. Even if undocumented immigrants had found some loophole that let them vote, which doesn't exist, they wouldn't do it. Undocumented immigrants are more worried about having to leave the lives they've built. Think about how hard it is to convince people to vote when it doesn't include a risk of jail time. They aren't risking everything to cast an illegal ballot and almost certainly get caught and be deported, along with a fine and jail time. It's just not worth the risk. In fact, studies show that undocumented immigrants are less likely to commit any sort of crime across the board due to the increased risk it would cause to them. The truth is that this is a distraction by Trump and his allies. They put out misinformation like this to create mistrust in our elections and to distract from the actual threats, like the Trump campaign currently planning to overturn legal votes from US citizens in an attempt to overthrow the will of the people. The GOP-controlled Georgia election board allowing local officials to refuse to certify the election for any reason, and threats against poll workers and election officials increasing at an alarming rate. Trump and the MAGA GOP are trying their hardest to chip away at our democracy and take office regardless of the will of the people. These are the real threats. This is what we should be focusing on.